Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Blackmon, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends. We're going to get the imaging right, so there's not any confusion as to what's going on here. We're just going to get general cover art for the podcast that's going to include Will, Ryan, and myself, because that's essentially what we have here. It's been a little confusion. Will has friends calling him going, I hear you're doing a podcast, but I see this dude with a headset on. And
is that your agent? Who is that guy?
What's going on here? Right. So we have a contest going on right now for people who want to submit potential art for it. If you want to get involved in that, you can reach us by emailing us at bucherandfriends@gmail.com and get in on the contest. You know what? I should have our producer talking about this. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. Like, I know actually what's going on.
I'm listening just like everyone else. We're just listening to you.
Yeah, as Gary Owen, who's the comedian actor who's also on the United We Cast Network, whenever I've tried to talk to him about kind of technological things, he goes, listen, I'm talent, okay? I talk into the microphone. I act in front of the camera. The other stuff, I hire people to do that for me. So
exactly.
Anyway, we have plenty to get to. I want to start out very quickly. Your Red Sox wrapping up.
Let's go!
So, couple things here. One, will there be celebration by you as far as...
I already did it. That was it right there.
That was it? Okay.
That's all I'm going to get.
Moving on.
Moving on.
All right.
That's right.
Second thing, Halloween. Do you participate? Do you dress up? Will you go to any costume parties? What's the deal?
I have done all the above.
Okay.
I do participate. I love candy. Okay. So as a 34-year-old man, I will get my own candy.
Speaking of which, happy birthday. Since the last time we did the podcast.
Yeah, October 27th. That was the day.
Yeah.
We went to a Brazilian steakhouse. My wife took us there, so that was good.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, but last year, I think my wife took the kids out. The in-laws came over and they all went out. And I actually stayed home and passed out candy. And I had this I still have it, this one creepy mask that our 3-year-old daughter is not a fan of at all. And she's pretty tough. A lot doesn't bother her. She saw Jurassic World and was cool with it and wasn't frightened, but it's the Night King from Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
And I have this mask.
That scares me. What are you talking about?
she was not feeling it.
Yeah.
So I had this wild idea. So I actually had the White Walkers theme music from Game of Thrones and I played it throughout the house. So you could actually hear it outside. There are outdoor speakers too. Nice. So when the trick-or-treaters came up, I actually answered the door with the mask on. Never talked. Nobody would come and grab candy.
Wow.
It worked.
Nice. Very nice. So this in California right now, and particularly in our area, there are propositions for the growth of marijuana, the sale of medicinal marijuana, all of that in our particular community. There propositions on the ballot. So my wife and I decided that we would dress up as we went to some parties over the weekend as cannabis farmers.
Cannabis farmers?
Cannabis farmers, yes. It is.
I don't know what that looks like, but I'm listening.
Well, we made fake spleefs, and then I had dreads, and then I dressed up basically as a farmer with dreads.
Dude.
And then my wife had a sign that was saying yes on all the propositions that we were passing. But anyway, we had to explain it to everybody. It wasn't
I was just going to say that is tough right there. You have to say what it is visually.
Exactly. Although I had a friend of mine too who basically got dressed, just wore he has this suit jacket that's made out of Christmas or has the print is Christmas lights. And then he had this really tall Dr. Seuss hat. And he wore that, and everybody said, what are you? And he said, I'm Christmas come early. He basically just wore what he wanted to wear. He put together an outfit, and then he decided what it was going to mean. As opposed to
if you went to a cannabis exhibit, an expo, and you dressed like that, then maybe you would have gotten a greater chance at that being successful.
We kind of knew that it was a pass or fail, and it failed. We were going to be one or the other. Either people were going to get it, and they were going to think it was funny,
Did
or
anybody
get it. And they're gonna go, yeah, that was a nice try. So that was my Halloween.
Anybody get it?
No, not really. Not without us explaining it. Nope. So anyway, on to the NFL. I want to run through a couple of quick things with you that we haven't had an opportunity to address, particularly with you and your experience with the Giants. And I want to start here with Eli Manning and the decision to kind of bring him back and draft Saquon Barkley and take another shot at being viable this year. And it hasn't worked, right? 1-7 just has not worked. Do you think it was a worthwhile gambit to say, let's bring Eli back, let's take a shot? If we have everybody healthy, if we add a little bit to the offensive line, we can be competitive in the division. Who knows? We can even go to the playoffs. Were you on board with that idea from the start?
As in, like, don't draft a quarterback, right?
Yes.
Like, we're going to...
Right.
I was on board just because on paper, they have talent all around, on both sides of the ball. So the only thing they were really, really dealing with last year is they had an absent run game. And they addressed that early, and I think, rightfully so, Saquon was a top 5 pick. He should have been. So that's why for me, it's baffling to see. Are they 1-7 now?
1-7, yes.
1-7 after today. That's unreal. I would never ever imagine them to be that far down the list. It's crazy because there just had been a chain of events ever since Coughlin left. For me, that's the common denominator. As soon as Coughlin left. And he didn't leave on good terms. It's so funny. I just came across another video of when he resigned. He walked right by Mr. Mara. Didn't even shake his hand. Mr. Mara stood up to shake his hand. He walked right past him. And that right there was just like, wow, I forgot how real and how serious that was.
Yeah.
And just ever since then, it's just been all downhill. When I just remember being there with Coach Coughlin on the Giants, there were so many leaders and such a strong presence of just leadership in general within our locker room. And he actually had a leadership council where if there were any issues, he brought them up to his room, to his office, and would have meetings with them. And basically, you guys police yourselves because I'm trying to build men here. Sure, Eli was one of the leaders, but he didn't have to do much because there were strong people. I mean, you look at, O.C. Umenyiora, Justin Tuck. At the time, we had Victor Cruz there. We had Hakeem Nicks. We had Deion Grant, Antra Rowe, Corey Webster. I mean, the list goes on how many just leaders we had on that team. So right now, I really don't know who's the true leader on this team. Yeah.
To your point, they've had 5 games where it's been 20 points or less. And I look at having Saquon, OBJ, and Eli, and I'm stunned. And I understand that the offensive line is a critical part and often overlooked when it comes to it. We look at the talent at the skill positions, and we don't account for how impactful the offensive line is. I don't think it's the sieve it was last year. And I look at it and I just think there has to be a way that you could be manufacturing more points than they have. They lose today, 2015. They lose to the Cowboys, 2013. You go down the line. The games that they've lost has really been because there hasn't been production on the offensive side of it. And when I look at this talent at the skill positions, I can't explain why that is.
That's the thing I'm dealing with right now. I'm watching, like I said, I watch every single week. The one thing that I do believe is they just need to keep forcing it to Odell. He keeps playing well, and he actually does better when he's targeted a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the one thing that, funny I'm saying, is that McAdoo actually did well. He did bring the Packers West Coast quick game offense to the Giants, and that's where they had some success doing that. However, that worked out, but they didn't have a running game. So once they took away the pass game, the running game was non-existent anyhow, and they suffered. And that's what I'm saying, dude. I'm baffled, man.
Do you think this is it for Eli?
I can see it as being it. I can totally see it because he has anxiety. Like, he's worried about pass rush. He's worried about trying to make the right throws. He's worried about trying to make the right reads. And it's almost the first time I ever seen him just look completely uncomfortable. He has done things where I think one year he threw 25 picks, half of them because they bounced off receivers. But I saw something different in the Atlanta game, that he actually was barking at some of the receivers for running the wrong routes or not making this play or not doing this. Almost like he's had enough, So is it for him? Is it for you, football wise?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's for him football wise, but it might be time for him to go somewhere else.
Okay. Because that's a distinction. Because I think most people look at it and say physically or mentally, however you want to describe it, that Eli's best days are behind him and he can't function as an NFL quarterback anymore. You're saying, no, the length of service with the Giants, the frustration there, that if you put Eli in a different place, say with Jacksonville, with just a different climate, that different atmosphere, maybe reunited with Tom Coughlin, he would be a different guy.
I don't want to say reunited because you look there too. You go into a situation where you have a young offense. That offense is designed to move around out of the pocket and try to make things easier. And it is actually predicated, once again, off the run game. And ever since Fournette's been hurt, their run game has been non-existent. You know, TJ Yeldon has done a great job of mixing both, but he's doing better as a receiving running back. So I don't know. I see him on a veteran team right now. I think the perfect blend that I can see is like where Alex Smith is in Washington. I mean, he's on a veteran team, and there's tons of leaders across the board, and where the guys can micromanage themselves.
So you've teed me up for like 3 different subjects here that I want to hit very quickly. Number 1, your Jags. How do you feel? They lost to the Eagles
at home in England.
Yeah, at home. I know, what a bad deal. That's 4 losses in a row for them. The division is still gettable for them. They're 2 games behind the Texans. But something needs to change. How are you feeling about your Jags? Because last week you were saying you still think they have Super Bowl potential. How are you feeling now with another loss on the docket?
I think this loss was huge because this was a chance for them to get back on their feet before the bye. There's just something going on there, just energy-wise. They had a report saying a couple of guys got in trouble the night before.
Right.
You know, so just regardless the magnitude, if it was small or not, it was still something that they have to deal with. Just in that division alone, I feel like right now Houston is like catching its stride. They're coming together as a complete team on all 3 phases, and they're just so excited. They just feel so good about themselves, and that's what I mean is that teams like that who know how to handle adversity as they did beginning the season,
and we'll have to continue because they lost William Fuller in that game Thursday.
They did. But the cool thing about that is even who did not play this game, but Kuti, he stepped up and was a good addition for them. But right now I see them doing well. And then it's crazy. the Colts are playing ball right now.
Yeah. Well,
they are.
Everybody looks good against the Raiders. And the Colts have been competitive week in and week out. I agree with you. They've overachieved.
But if you looked at the offense, can you name?
Oh, no. I mean, Andrew Luck. That's it.
Right. And then T.Y., he was hurt earlier and he's back.
I will say the tight end.
Ebron's playing well for them.
And
that was a great addition. Yeah. Right. And then the running back, Marlon Mack. But they're extremely impressive. Their offensive line that's who's playing extremely well. They're doing everything they can. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see what the Jags are going to do after this bye week. Are they going to continue going with Blake? That's something that I'm sure they're going to totally consider.
Even though this particular game, he threw a touchdown pass, but I've seen worse games from
Jenkins, who made that criticism remark. Remember, he's the one that said, according to watching Blake on film, I can see that Cap needs a job, and they went right after him.
Right. So just bottom line, you think they crawl back into it? You think that the bye does them good? Or do you think, Texans are too hot and they might have missed their window?
There needs to be some serious evaluation and conversations. Because they don't need much on offense. They just need them not to turn the ball over and generate at least 21 points, right. 17 points maybe, because it's a really good defense. Just generate something and not cause so many turnovers. That's the problem right now, and it's crazy.
You mentioned the Washington Redskins. They're 5-2. They're leading the division. Can they win the NFC East?
Absolutely. As long as they stay healthy. That is the biggest thing. When Washington is healthy, all the years I've been there, when we are healthy, we do very well. And of course, once again, they have the recipe in order to do so. They have the leader at the helm as a quarterback in Alex Smith. They have, leaders on the offensive line. They have Adrian Peterson, who's a veteran leader. You go defense, you have Carrigan, you have Foster, you have DJ Swearinger, who right now is playing as the best safety in the NFL. And that's the type of situation that I believe Jay Gruden likes, because he doesn't want to have to deal with confrontation or get in anyone's face. He feels like you guys are grown men. You guys can take care of yourselves, and I'll give you the freedom to do so. Just don't bring any, nonsense or BS where I have to handle it. So I can see right now why they're doing well.
So you mentioned Tom Coughlin, winning a championship with him, then having him be on the outs. I connected somewhat with Ty Lue being fired over the weekend by the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was the coach who led the Cavs to multiple NBA Finals appearances, an NBA championship, and now they start 0-6, and he's out. And in one respect, I think they're probably doing him a favor. I know that physically the job has taken its toll over the last year. This team isn't built to win in the way that it was in the past. You mentioned all of the players that the veteran players that were there that were leaders in the locker room that are no longer there. Cavs in the same situation. Guys that maybe people didn't even fully were aware of how valuable they were.
Right, I appreciated them, right.
James Jones, who never played, but was without question, one of the leaders on that team. Richard Jefferson, obviously LeBron leaving. So now Ty's left with this team. And the only problem that I have with it, and I don't know if it was, you saw the same with Coughlin being blamed for where the Giants went after the fact. I feel the same with Ty Lue, whether it was last year or this year. You keep reshuffling the deck, and in this case, you strip it down, and now it's his fault, like he's supposed to be coaching up this mixed bag or meeting the same expectations. That's the only aspect of this that troubles me, is that it makes him out to be the scapegoat for an 0-6 start. When I say, look at your roster, let's be real. Nobody was going to make this into a winning formula. And by firing him, the suggestion is that he somehow was not doing his job.
Right. You designed that team to complement LeBron. That's what it was for.
Right.
LeBron's left, so as a front office, you got to do your thing. So, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Coach Schottenheimer when he was on the Chargers, and the year they went 14-2. 14-2 and lost his job.
Yeah, I've seen it. And some of this, so much of this has to do with owners who are so hands-on and so impatient. And this is the problem that I have, even with a change with Ty Lue. And I've had guys in the NFL tell me that, fans get up in arms. We got to change this. We're not scoring enough. We need to change, fire so-and-so. And guys have told me, when you change offensive systems, it takes about 2 years to be able to get the new system in place and get everybody comfortable and get the right personnel for it. So when you look at a place like Cleveland on the football side of things, when you're firing somebody, and this is the same for the Cavs. The Cavs have had or at least 5 coaches over the last 7 years and almost as many GMs because they got rid of David Griffin as well. What do you expect? You keep hitting the reset button, you're never going to develop anything.
Right. In any organization I have been on that has been successful, it starts from the top.
Yeah.
It starts from the top down. And I go back to the Giants. It was Jerry Reese and Coach Coughlin. And then Coach Coughlin was out. Jerry Reese went ham in free agency, maybe to save his career. I think he spent over $200 million something, I believe. And at the time, also too, you get a new head coach in McAdoo, you get a new GM, and now you get another new GM, and then you get another, new head coach. I can imagine Eli, he has to get adjusted every year and try to figure this, what is going on here?
Yes. Yeah.
He's not even sure where anyone stands.
I just look at the way he's handled everything. I admire that because you haven't heard him
say anything
about a lot that he could have. His standing, his stature, what he's accomplished there. If he did have an issue with things, I wouldn't blame him for saying it, but he hasn't. And as a result, he's probably taken a few arrows that he didn't deserve simply because he wasn't going to make a fuss. He wasn't going to expose or point out what the rest of the organization was doing.
Right.
And he wore that. And so I'm not one of those that's going to be critical of Eli. And I was on board as you were. I was like, everybody's hot and bothered about all the quarterbacks that came out in this draft. And I'm sure that a couple of them are going to be pretty damn good. But it's not as if you had a single no-brainer franchise quarterback in this draft. Whoever you were going to go with was going to be the flavor that you decided you liked the best, and you saw a vision in which they could be great.
There wasn't a Peyton Manning sitting there.
No, there wasn't an Andrew Luck. There wasn't that no-brainer, this is the guy. Because if there was, there would have been no debate over who the number one pick should be. And there certainly was a healthy amount of debate as to even now.
Even Baker was a shocker.
Right. And I think as we've seen, now some of these guys are in really difficult situations. I feel bad for Josh Rosen in that Arizona situation. I feel bad for Sam Darnold to a certain extent with the Jets. You talk about name the offensive weapons, at least with the Jets. It's like, who's there? So for a young quarterback to be saddled with that, you're going to have difficulties. But even that said, the raw talent of these guys, there wasn't a single guy where I went, oh, I'm convinced he's the guy and he's going to be the guy going forward. And with that in mind, it made all the sense in the world for me with the Giants to say, okay, let's go get Saquon. Let's invest in the other pieces and let's give Eli another run at this.
Because you have a capable quarterback.
Exactly.
You have a proven quarterback who has played in the toughest games you can imagine. I mean, the NFC Championship game when we went to the Super Bowl, we beat San Francisco in San Francisco. I mean, that was probably right there. If you want to go in the archives and find a game for Eli, I think he got knocked down probably 12 times, and just made the toughest throws for us to move on to the Super Bowl. So obviously he has plenty of catches, the Tyree catch, the Manningham catch. I mean, things where he's just been on the money in the playoffs. So he's capable. That's why I didn't see them. Oh, they got to get a quarterback now. They have to get a quarterback now. No,
like they were going to bring somebody in that was going to like change the dynamic based on what?
Right. You're going to bring him in. You're going to bring him in the set because all the other quarterbacks, they're playing right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the Packers-Rams game and the Saints-Vikings game, to me, were the two games, the most meaningful games and the most meaningful results. Packers end up losing 29-27. Unfortunate that Aaron Rodgers doesn't get one last shot because there's a fumble on the kickoff in the waning minutes. Because you got to feel like Aaron was going to find a way to get it done as he always has. It was perfect to run it down there and kick a field goal. But with that said, I think they're 3-1 now. Is it a possibility that they do not make the playoffs? Where do you see them in the division? How do you size them up? Because the competition in the NFC is thick.
Well, even in their own division, they still have to deal with Minnesota, and Chicago's playing very well too. They're hitting their stride as well. It's funny. These two late games definitely felt like a playoff type atmosphere. Right now, the Saints are telling everybody they are for real, like legit for real contenders, and it only helped to get Ingram back just to balance it out. So they're playing out of their mind. I'll tell you what, it is one thing. Once again, going back to the quarterback, to know that you have somebody like Drew Brees at the helm. It is a quarterback league, yes, and it is extremely important to have a quarterback like that. That makes everything go.
Do you consider him underrated? Because we talk Rodgers, we talk Brady, and Brees gets a certain amount of attention, but I don't know that people naturally put him in the circle with those two. And the width and breadth of what he's done, his accomplishments, his abilities, that thing that you said, that it factor of you give him a minute and change and you need a score, you have all the confidence in the world that Drew Brees is going to find a way to get you down there to get those necessary points. I feel like he deserves to be there, but I don't even do like I think that like mentally, I think that intellectually, but I don't naturally say Brady, Rodgers, Brees in whatever order. I'm always thinking Brady, Rodgers. Oh yeah, Brees.
It's funny. It's just based off what TV portrays to us.
Yeah.
They always show, Aaron, he has all his, his commercial, his discount double check and all that stuff that he does. Obviously Brady and his lifestyle. And then when you go to Drew Brees, you see all the community work he does. Right. And it all, and it reminds me of, like, you look at Russell Wilson, he's married to Sierra, but same thing. He does a tons of community work and he always says the right thing. He always does the right thing. Same thing with Drew Brees. And for some people, that's not enough. People want a villain. Yeah. They want controversy. They want to see someone. They want something. Yeah. But it's cool though, because when you do look at Drew Brees, you do feel excited and you are just truly happy for him. I don't think Drew Brees has any haters in this world. I actually don't think so.
It's hard to imagine somebody who doesn't like.
What would you dislike about him?
It's a good point.
He just keeps showing up and he has done everything.
So Kirk Cousins, when I was doing my radio show, we ended up talking a lot more about Kirk Cousins than I ever would imagine that I would talk about Kirk Cousins. And a lot of it had to do with with Washington kind of up and down and who do you put it on? And I was always in the camp of Because there's a lot of people out there. The Redskins are mistreating Cousins, and I'm thinking, you know what? Those franchise tags were pretty sweet. He made some nice cash, and
also some nice tags.
Yeah, and I didn't blame them for not hitching their wagon on a max deal with him. Like, it's not as if they didn't make him an offer to make him the quarterback for long term. They just weren't going to break the bank doing it. And when I looked at what he'd accomplished, especially with and without Jordan Reed, like if you're going to pay a guy maximum money, then I want him to be a guy who makes everybody else better, who makes the game easier for them. And I always felt that Kirk was as good as the talent around him. And so for that reason, I'm good with riding with him, but I can't make him out like he's in that elite circle that I've been talking about. And now he's getting paid like that by Minnesota. And again, watching the game tonight, it was like, he's good. He does some really good things and da-da-da. But when I need that play, I'm one play short and I'm not getting it out of the quarterback position.
Right, the numbers look great. He threw for 300 or 400 yards, but I need the one that matters, the one that's going to get us over the edge. And that's, Washington kept tagging him because they're like, okay, we have to because this is our quarterback. And right now, there aren't any other options for us. Mm-hmm. So Kirk was doing his part because he was playing well. I mean, consecutive 4,000 yards and same thing. Washington was kind of stuck because they couldn't get anybody else. So I believe in evaluating this whole offseason, they're like, okay, we're not going to be able to do this, but we do see a situation where we could get somebody, and that's when they got Alex Smith. And that was the deal. I can go back to our game when we played New York. We won the game. We won a division. We're in the playoffs. This is 2016. I believe we were 8-7-1. And under the bright lights, and people say, so for some reason, night games do something to Kirk. Yeah. We don't know what it is. And this is funny, man. We heard this all week about, I forget who we were playing. I think we were playing the Packers, and they were like, oh, Kirk in primetime games. And I just remember even talking to my wife, like, man, she read it too. Like, they saying he can't play it during primetime games. I'm like, oh, he'll be fine. So I remember I went down to the this is so funny. I went down to the pregame meal, right? And I see Kirk. And I'm just listening. He asked somebody. He said, "What?" He said, "Gosh, I hate these night games, man."
Oh!
And when he said that, right. I was like, "Oh man, maybe he is bothered by these night games." He said, I just heard him. Yeah, I just want to get up and play. Oh gosh, I hate these night games.
Oh,
so maybe he's psyching himself out.
That's not good to hear. Where do you put the Vikings with the addition? Everybody looked at them and what they did last year, and the argument was whether they could just upgrade at the quarterback position. That was the missing integer. And then they're Super Bowl bound. And honestly, I felt like you're discounting how unbelievably lucky they were against the Saints. They had no business beating the Saints. That play, I mean, look, I know lucky things happen. I know you make your luck, but for me, they didn't deserve that. The game should have gone the other direction. So it's a little bit of, basically what I'm saying is a little bit of fool's gold that you're suggesting that a little upgrade on the quarterback position. That was the only thing missing.
A little upgrade.
Yes.
That was the thing. I looked at that team and I'm like, man, they have an incredible receiving core. They're getting Dalvin Cook back next year. This is a stout defense, So, yeah, it's like that of an upgrade.
And what you paid for that upgrade. Because now it's a window of that money's going to hit. And you're going to price yourself out of being able to maintain all the other talent that you have. So right. I feel as if they don't do it now, things are going to fall off. Because all of the money that you invested, guaranteed in Kirk, now you're going to have to take that from other places. That's what concerns me about this model that they've set up. I look at the example for like the Rams. The Rams are in a great position. The Chiefs are in a great position. You know why? Because they have quarterbacks that you believe in that can get you there, and they don't cost you a whole lot. So you can use your money elsewhere. It's the Tom Brady Patriots plan. He's not getting market value. He's not getting close to market value. But they're taking that money and they're putting a team around
moving it. Yeah.
Right? And for those guys, I was always a guy that when Kobe Bryant said, screw you, I'm taking every dollar that I can get. You want me to give you money back so that you can build a team around me? You haven't demonstrated to me that you can build a championship team. Now, Brady is in a different place. He knows that money's going to be well spent. They can get him where he wants to go. Okay. And he's making enough money in other places. It's not impacting him. I get that. But it's the very rare situation where you look at your management and your ownership and you go, yeah, I'll give you the money back. First of all, I just hate that whole concept. Like,
I think Brady owns some of the Patriots. I have a feeling.
Probably some deals working, right?
He might have a little percentage in there. He might.
Yeah. If he doesn't, he certainly should. Yeah, there's no doubt there. It's with the Warriors. Like, you're telling me that Joe Lacob, the owner of the Warriors, and he's a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, and you're telling me he's not getting KD and Steph and Clay and these guys like dialed up with the right connections so that their money is working for him elsewhere? 100% that is happening, right? Yeah, but in any event, that's where, Sunday night's game to me was just another example of why making Kirk Cousins the highest paid quarterback in the league, if it doesn't pay off this year, then I feel as if they're going to regret that contract moving forward. And it's still relatively short, but nonetheless, for the expectations, they could potentially be in a tough spot. All right, he is Will. I am Rick. You know what we're going to get tomorrow? This is what we're going to get tomorrow because Tom Brady is going to be playing. I want to know from Will Blackmon, in playing against Drew Brees, playing against an Aaron Rodgers, playing against a Tom Brady, and those are relatively different type quarterbacks.
They all are completely different.
Right. And so I want to know from a DB's perspective, which would you rather play against? Who poses the greatest issues? And I also want to get in on something when you talked about it on your hit on game day on Sunday. You talked about Antonio Brown and how it always feels like he's freelancing. He's not actually running a route. He's basically just playing street ball out there with Ben. And I wonder from a DB's perspective how you prepare playing for someone where they improvise on a regular basis. So those are the two things that you want to tune in for the next podcast. Will on all of that. In the meantime, thanks for listening. Don't forget, subscribe on iTunes. And if you want to get in on the contest for designing our cover art, email us at bucherandfriends@gmail.com. And we are going to, by the way, for anybody who rates the show on iTunes and sends us a screenshot of them rating it, we have swag that we're going to be giving away. Ryan Hollins is going to be giving away shoes. I'm going to be giving away Game of Zones gear from Bleacher Report. And Will Blackmon is going to be giving away... What is Will Blackmon going to be contributing to?
What should I give? I gave everything away already. I gave away all my cleats. I gave away gloves.
You got anything? Will, you know what? Will's going to look through his treasure trove of swag, and we'll add something.
Yeah, mine's gonna be it'll be a special surprise.
Okay, there you go. There's a special surprise. Thanks for listening.